Jerome Powell, the
No.
Fed chair?
I think he's doing a terrible job. I think we should be, I think we should be 3 points lower interest rate. He's costing our country a lot of money. We should be number one, and we're not. And that's because of Jerome Powell. In terms of interest.
Refused to even talk about Bitcoin,
right?
Which now outpaces a 10-year gain of Nvidia, Amazon, Netflix, Tesla.
He may have gotten that wrong. He may have gotten Bitcoin wrong.
This has really been extremely egregious. So on September 12th, Jamie Dimon says Bitcoin is a fraud. He says he'll fire any one of his traders buying Bitcoin. Bitcoin drops 24%. When Jamie Dimon speaks, people listen. So that weekend, we found out that the largest buyer of a Bitcoin fund that's in Europe that buys physical Bitcoin, right? The largest buyer was Morgan Stanley and JP Morgan. And that's not illegal.
Who everyone talks about is our guy that we usually talk about for the S&P and stocks is Tom Lee.
Tom Lee, yeah, because he's been a bull for a long.
But the way he is a bull, he's on here and it'll be, Bitcoin will be at 70, and I go, well, what do you think? And he goes, well, I'm expecting 120 to 150.
Right, and you think he's nuts.
And you think he's absolutely crazy.
Right.
That's the way he was when it first went up to 20,000 years ago, and it dropped all the way to 3,000 or something. And he said, I think we'll be back to 20 by the end of the year. And at one point, before I got orange pilled, I got orange pilled pretty early, like 4, but it was at 8,000, went down to 4. But one of my purchases was at 4,000. So
wow.
Yes, so I did. I had some at 4,000.
Did you take profits?
I sold a lot at 55. I still have, pretty much. I still have them. Fine. Nice. I'm good, and I love. It's tough to enter now. You can buy fractional shares.
But if you're a long-term believer,
if you're still a hodler, they've been buying all along. But I remember when he said it. Then I asked him. I said, "You're so good at it. Why do you delve in this? It's so much easier for stocks, and you're so good at calling short-term trends on the S&P. Why risk your reputation on this? What at that point was such.
He probably didn't view it as a risk.
No,
he was so sure of his forecast.
More growth. We want to make sure people are protected with taxes. You want to talk about the most important parts of this?
I do. There's a part that would prevent the double taxation of digital assets. Right now, they're taxed when they're identified, and they're taxed again when they're sold. We don't do that with things like gold and cattle. We tax them when they're sold. And so we need to change that for digital assets. We're also sponsoring legislation that would create a de minimis amount that people could spend. When we're using Bitcoin as a means of exchange, we want to have a de minimis amount that can be used and spent without being subject to taxation. That amount would be about $5,000 per year. So those are a couple of the main provisions.
So this started after the Fed minutes Wednesday. It triggered a massive wave of short liquidations, pushing price higher. Of course, we saw more than $655 million in Bitcoin and short Bitcoin positions liquidated in the past 24 hours. Meanwhile, Bitcoin ETFs seeing their biggest day of inflows this year at more than $1 billion yesterday, the second biggest day on record for inflows into ETH ETFs. It'd probably take a macro event to slow this down. We're heading further into summer when macro catalysts are typically fewer, but I'd watch the Fed meeting at the end of the month. What's really interesting is the way that ETH has kind of sprung to life here. Still down on the year, but as Bitcoin dragged for 2 months, interest in tokenization, which includes stablecoins, has helped revive ETH, as that is the network that facilitates so much of that activity. So ETH greatly outperforming Bitcoin now, ahead of its 10-year anniversary, and just as a lot of investors kind of were starting to give up on it, guys.
Do you think, if you're looking for catalysts in the last few weeks, Tanad, you think the Circle IPO was a big part of it?
Yes, definitely. I think the Circle IPO gave reasons for investors to be interested in crypto beyond just the price of Bitcoin, which, I don't want to say it's become boring, but there's just so much risk removed from it. People aren't afraid of it anymore. We have, Congress making headway on legislation. The White House is very much behind it. And Circle really gave, the rest of the market a reason to care about the use cases that the crypto industry is always looking to, prove to the world beyond the price of Bitcoin.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher.
And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you join the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. Also, go like and follow the TikTok. More videos to come. And we have Trump keeps talking about the Fed and these rates because Trump knows all about the $10 trillion that needs to be refinanced. And unfortunately, the masses have no clue. But they're definitely going to be affected going forward once we get to the end of this year. And before it weighs on these big banks and big corporations, what are they going to turn to? That's right, the robots, algorithms, and drones. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. Now, we got a big 3 weeks for the market. We have crypto week. Then the following week, we have futures contracts ending, and we had a big pump at the beginning of the month. And we know anytime we get this type of big pump, we get a big pullback at the end of the month. And then on the last week of the month, we have Jerome in the house, and most likely he's not going to be cutting rates. And of course, we're going to get more from Trump if he doesn't. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And we have Jim Cramer on Jamie Dimon. He was wrong about Bitcoin. And we know how many times Jim Cramer has been wrong about Bitcoin. But we also know both of them know all about the fourth industrial revolution. And they're definitely not going to give us the truth. At the same time, Jamie Dimon is saying don't touch Bitcoin. Behind the scenes, they were buying it up. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And we have Cynthia Loomis on spending Bitcoin at certain amounts without taxation. And they're planning this new monetary system without the people, but right in front of their eyes. It's amazing. And that's the reason why they throw so many distractions, propaganda out there to keep the sheep distracted. Now, we have Bitcoin and crypto pumping, but we know at this time period, this is normal. Sometimes we get a bigger pump than others, but the fact is when it comes to TV, they always try to give them a reason to look instead of actually telling you where the pump came from, because then you'll be able to benefit. And then also, you'll know it's all manipulated. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And this story is unbelievable. We have the United States open its first rare earth mine in over 70 years. But guys, when you know history, this is so important. When you know history, we know we have plenty of rare earth minerals. We just don't dig in the United States because then we know people could just sit back and do that for a living. We think all the rare minerals are in Africa or Asia. No, you have plenty in the United States. But of course, they don't want the people to know. Anytime we get in these floods, all of a sudden they find deposits. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And we have Goldman Sachs using Devin AI. Turn into AI. Writing, running, and testing codes. And then also it could communicate with human engineers. And again, these big banks and big corporations are ready to unleash these AI agents. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And then we have Nvidia. Will they have access to China? And we're looking at the market cap, $4 trillion, a little under $4 trillion right now. But the fact is, the valuations make no sense whatsoever. And going towards the back half of this year and going forward, Nvidia is definitely going to take a beating. And I'm going to put that in the stock Patreon newsletter that I do for this quarter, breaking it down for you. But Nvidia is definitely going to have a big pullback in 2026. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
The U.S. is going to be opening its first rare earth mine in more than 70 years. Kelly Saberi is there in Ranchester, Wyoming. Beautiful place. Kelly, what are we going to get out of this mine?
Hi, David. Yeah, this is a critical moment for the U.S. We are going to get 6 of the 17 rare earth elements that are used in everything from warplanes to semiconductors and powerful magnets and even things that go into our cell phones. Now, this is revolutionary for not just us, but our allies, as we'll be able to break our dependence on China to acquire these rare earth minerals. Now, what I want to tell you about is China not only provides 70% of the U.S. supply, but also mines 70% of the world's rare earth minerals. China has basically cut off the rest of the world now from acquiring 7 of these elements since April in retaliation for President Trump's tariffs. So this will be a game changer, and they've only studied a third of the land here. Take a listen to this.
The United States uses about 10,000 tons a year of rare earth. We've got 1.7 million. So just on the math, that's north of 150 years worth of supply just at this mine. So this mine will basically be America's answer to China.
That Goldman Sachs is piloting an autonomous coder. This is potentially a major step in AI's evolution, at least for Wall Street. You Sun broke that story. He joins us now to discuss it. So tell us what this is, first of all, Hugh, and how it's going to be used at the bank.
Hey, David. Yeah, so, I think the headline here is we're in the middle of this grand experiment in productivity with AI. And the honest truth is nobody knows how far they can take it. So the leap forward that Goldman is in the middle of is that instead of just using sort of a corporate chat GPT, which everybody started having starting last year, they're going to be using a program from a startup called Cognition. And Cognition really came onto the scene just a year ago or so with a autonomous software developer called Devin, that they named Devin. And it was a pioneer in this idea that instead of just helping software engineers do their jobs faster by completing code and helping them debug things, that it could just take the entire job and do it. So that Devin would, if you give it the certain prompts, in a Slack channel, it will be able to create a plan, execute that plan, execute the code, test the code, debug it, and then hand it back to you and say, here's the project that you asked for, sir. And so that's really blown some people's minds. It's shot up to a $4 billion valuation in about 18 months there, David.
Yeah, well, the question/concern, of course, in so many different areas, including banking and trading at a firm like Goldman Sachs, is it and will it replace people? Is that the sense that this is something that will create efficiencies ultimately that will result in fewer jobs being needed or even jobs being replaced?
Well, there always have to be humans in the loop, at least at the intermediary stage, I think. But, for me, the question is, if you have 12,000 software engineers and you give them 36,000 agentic AI programs, and they're 3 times as productive. Do you need those 12,000 people, or can you do with a third of them? And I think in the beginning at least the talk is, well, they're going to be more productive. They're going to be able to handle more projects, and they'll be able to do more things. Ultimately, I think on an industry-wide level, there's going to be a contraction in jobs, and you already have people like Jassy and Salesforce Mark Benioff talking about this.
So walk us through. If you are to take out those numbers, fine. Like you can take out the numbers now, but there is sort of this bigger compounded impact in the future. For every chip they don't sell, Huawei is selling that chip instead, and that just gets compounded even more and more and more. So how do we think about Nvidia at a $4 trillion market cap and going higher probably, but without the China growth story? Where does that growth get replaced?
Yeah, no, you bet. And it's fortunately the market is probably big enough where they can still grow really well even without China. However, it's not like that China business would get back. And I made that point, on this channel. With the nature of the new constraints, effectively you are handing the Chinese AI market over to Huawei if Nvidia is not allowed to sell there. Huawei has parts. They're not as good as Nvidia's. They don't have the ecosystem. Even with the lower performance of the Nvidia parts, given the thresholds, the Chinese customers would still rather use them because of those ecosystem benefits. If you're completely banning them, you're encouraging, not only you're driving sales to Huawei, but you're also encouraging local customers to start to invest in that Huawei ecosystem, and it strengthens it. So these are not good things. The longer term worry would be, does Huawei start to build that ecosystem and then try to sell the stuff out of China? Like that would be bad. And so again, Jensen was very clear. Actually, he spent a lot of time 3 months ago or 2 months ago on the last earnings call, laying all of this out explicitly. I'm assuming he was giving the message to the administration. So yeah, I think the market's plenty big enough for them to grow. But I mean, it's unfortunate if they're not allowed to sell into China. That is a market that's big, and they wouldn't be able to replace it there. Fortunately for them, though, especially in the near term, when they guided, they dropped $8 billion out from China. Right. And their numbers were still fine. It just kind of gives you an idea for how big the overall market and opportunity is.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leverage to technology, and I worry that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust. And we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we can have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting at more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and when the dealers have to step in to save a Treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the new World Order book, plus the 3 kids books, It's Time to Re-Educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance, Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing they were still getting that free money, what are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID Stories 3. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.